Welcome to TrueStars Stories, the place where we share inspiring tales filled with drama, emotion, and humanity. In today's video, you'll follow the extraordinary journey of a humble waitress. After a simple act of kindness to help a stranger, she was suddenly fired. But then, something no one expected happened. That very kindness revealed a shocking truth and completely changed her life the very next day. How could one small gesture lead to such an incredible twist? Who was truly behind it all? And what made both the restaurant and everyone watching rethink the true power of kindness? Join us as we dive into this emotional story of tears, injustice, but also hope, and the undeniable value of compassion. If you love heartfelt and inspiring stories like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button to TrueStars Stories so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. That morning, the Golden Spoon Diner buzzed with its usual rhythm. The clinking of silverware, the sharp aroma of freshly roasted coffee, and the chatter of regulars filled the air. In one corner, Lucy, the young waitress, hurried from table to table, wiping down surfaces with practiced hands. Her eyes sparkled with warmth, though her smile barely had a moment's rest. Everyone knew her for her quickness and kindness, but to her manager, Sharon, she was nothing more than a thorn in the side. Lucy. Sharon's voice cut through the air like vinegar. What kind of wipe is that? Look at the chair. One speck of dust and customers will never come back. Or do you want this diner to go out of business because of you? A few customers glanced over. Some even chuckled. Lucy lowered her head, swallowing the sting in her chest. I've already cleaned that spot 3 times, she thought. But instead of talking back, she put on her gentle smile. I'll clean it again right away, ma'am, she replied softly. The staff knew Sharon never found satisfaction with Lucy. Ironically, Lucy was also the one customers praised the most. Maybe that was the very reason Sharon scrutinized her harder, like a nail sticking out, bound to get hammered. Just then, the door creaked open. A middle-aged man walked in, his shirt worn, shoes scuffed, hair slightly disheveled. His eyes darted nervously around the room as he shuffled to the counter. Lucy noticed him instantly. Excuse me. I just want a hot coffee, but... His voice trembled, as if he feared rejection. Lucy quickly approached, bending down with a kind smile. Don't worry, sir. I'll bring your coffee right away. Would you like sugar or cream with it? The man looked up. For the first time, his tired eyes glimmered with a hint of warmth. Just black, please. Thank you so much. Sharon's sharp gaze narrowed from across the room. To her, customers like him were eyesores, dragging down the diner's image. Folding her arms, she sneered loud enough for others to hear. Lucy, can't you see he doesn't belong here? This is a restaurant, not a charity. Stop wasting your time on people who don't matter. The diner fell into an uneasy hush. Some whispered, others frowned at Sharon's cruelty. But Lucy didn't falter. She tilted her head, offering a calm but firm smile. I believe everyone deserves kindness, especially when all they need is just 1 cup of coffee to feel a little warmer. Little did anyone know that small act of kindness would ignite a storm the very next day. Lucy carefully set the steaming cup of black coffee in front of the stranger. He gave her a faint nod of gratitude, his trembling hands clinging to the porcelain cup as though it were the only warmth left in his life. She couldn't help but notice his shirt frayed at the shoulders and the cracked shoes at his feet, silent witnesses of a long, weary struggle. Please make yourself comfortable. If you need anything, just let me know, Lucy said softly, her voice warm and reassuring. The man opened his mouth as if to speak, but thought better of it. He simply sipped his coffee, his eyes drifting off, burdened with loneliness. A loneliness Lucy herself knew all too well from her own hardest days. Just then, Sharon's heels clattered against the floor like a drumbeat of authority. She leaned closer, her voice low but sharp enough for Lucy and nearby customers to hear. Do you realize you just made a mistake? This diner isn't a shelter for men like him. What will regulars think if they see this? Lucy looked up, her gaze calm but unwavering. I believe every customer deserves a seat and a cup of coffee, and I'm certain he isn't hurting anyone. You dare talk back to me? Sharon hissed, lips pressed tight. Around them, staff lowered their heads, unwilling to get caught in the storm. The air turned heavy like it could squeeze the breath out of anyone who spoke. Nearby customers began murmuring. An elderly woman whispered to her husband, "Poor man. And all this fuss is just over a cup of coffee." A young man shook his head in disapproval. "That waitress is kind. Why is the manager so cruel?" But Lucy stood tall, her tray trembling slightly in her grip, though her voice held steady. "I'm only doing what's right. If that gentleman were my father or anyone in my family, I would hope they'd be treated with the same kindness." Her words pierced Sharon's cold demeanor like a blade. Sharon's face flushed crimson, eyes blazing with fury. And then, with a voice that shook the entire diner, she snapped, "That's enough! If you defy me one more time, today will be your last day here." The room froze. The man clutching his coffee lifted his gaze toward Lucy, his eyes wide with shock and deep emotion. Lucy drew a deep breath, knowing a storm had just begun. The diner froze after Sharon's thunderous declaration. Curious, sympathetic, and even angry stares landed on Lucy. Her heart pounded against her ribs, yet she held on to her faint smile. Somehow, she wanted the stranger to see that kindness was never something to be ashamed of. The man slowly set his coffee cup down, ready to speak, but Sharon cut in, her shrill voice slicing through the air. "Finish your coffee and leave. This isn't a place for beggars." The words slashed the room in half. A few customers reacted instantly. A middle-aged woman slammed her spoon on the table, fuming. "That's outrageous. Anyone has the right to drink coffee if they pay for it." Sharon shot her a withering glare. "Right? My right is to keep this diner spotless. I won't have people dragging its image down." Lucy bit her lip, trembling from head to toe, but she stepped forward, positioning herself between Sharon and the weary man. Her voice quivered, but her words rang with resolve. "Mrs. Sharon, he didn't beg anyone. He paid for his coffee. Why should he be looked down on just because of worn-out clothes? If this diner only welcomes the wealthy, then maybe—" "I've been working in the wrong place all along." The whispers swelled louder. More customers turned scornful eyes toward Sharon. One young man even pulled out his phone, quietly recording the scene. Sharon's face flushed scarlet. She jabbed her finger at Lucy and roared, "Get out! You're fired! Don't you dare set foot in here again!" The atmosphere cracked like a thunderclap. Some customers gasped, mouths agape. Lucy stood frozen for a moment, then exhaled slowly. But instead of despair, a strange calm flickered in her eyes. She glanced at the man, giving him a small nod as if to say, "It's okay. Kindness is always worth it." The diner fell silent again, broken only by the distant clink of a spoon against a glass. The man watched Lucy intently, and in his gaze there glimmered a secret that no one could yet imagine. Lucy stood frozen, clutching her tray as if it were her last anchor of courage. The diner was taut with silence, every pair of eyes fixed on her, waiting to see if she would break or hold firm. Sharon crossed her arms, smug with triumph, her lips curling into a frosty smile. "You think kindness will save your career? Remember this, there's no place here for the weak." Lucy took a deep breath, met her manager's eyes, and slowly untied her apron. The gesture was deliberate yet graceful, as if she had accepted the price of standing her ground. The customers held their breath. Some even welled up with tears. An elderly woman whispered under her breath, "That girl? She deserves so much better." Sharon, meanwhile, reveled in her so-called victory. Suddenly, the stranger slammed his coffee cup onto the table. The sharp clack reverberated through the room, jolting everyone. He rose to his feet, and this time his eyes no longer wavered. They burned with a piercing authority, utterly unlike the weary man who had shuffled in minutes ago. The atmosphere flipped on its head. Lucy froze in surprise. That gaze, commanding, resolute, was not the gaze of a helpless man. Beneath his worn shirt and scuffed shoes, something formidable lay hidden, but Sharon remained blind. She jutted her chin at him, her voice dripping with contempt. "And what are you still doing here? Get out, both of you!" The murmurs swelled. Several customers openly lifted their phones now, recording every moment. Their cameras locked on the man who had just stood tall. Lucy's chest tightened. A strange mixture of fear, confusion, and a fragile spark of hope. Little did she know, destiny's wheel had just begun to turn. This man was no ordinary customer, and tomorrow he would leave the entire diner, especially Sharon, utterly speechless. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows of the Golden Spoon. At first glance, everything seemed normal. The diner buzzed with regulars. Silverware clinked, and the smell of fresh pastries filled the air. But beneath the surface, the atmosphere was different. News of yesterday's public firing had spread faster than any pot of coffee. On social media, a video of Sharon berating Lucy and firing her in front of everyone had already gone viral overnight. Staff whispered to one another in hushed tones. One waitress murmured, "Did you see? That video hit tens of thousands of views in just one night. The comments are tearing Sharon apart." A busboy shrugged. "Yeah, but she doesn't care." This morning, she was bragging about how the owner praised her for being strict. Sharon strutted out of her office, heels clicking against the floor with sharp authority. She ignored the stares around her, acting as though everything was still under control. And then the diner's door opened. The same man from yesterday walked in, only this time he didn't look lost. He wore a sharp navy suit, his tie straight, his eyes fierce. The staff froze. A few customers gasped and whispered, "Wait, isn't that—" Sharon faltered for a moment, but quickly plastered on a polite smile. She stepped forward, her voice strained yet sugary. "Ah, good morning, sir. You look quite different today. May I take your order?" The man didn't answer right away. His gaze swept the diner before settling squarely on Sharon. When he finally spoke, his voice was deep, steady, commanding, echoing through the room. "Yesterday I came here as an ordinary customer. I witnessed how you treated your employee, and I must say I am deeply disappointed." The words hit like lightning in broad daylight. Every customer, every staff member, and even Sharon herself fell into stunned silence. The silence in the diner was suffocating. Sharon, though shaken, forced herself to recover and spoke with feigned calm. "Sir, what do you mean? I was just doing my job as a manager. An employee who disobeys must be disciplined, that's all." The man gave a faint, cutting smile, his eyes sharp as blades. "Disciplined? Actually, I wasn't here just for coffee. I was here to observe." He pulled a card from his jacket pocket and held it up for everyone to see. The letters gleamed clearly. David Miller, CEO of the Golden Spoon restaurant chain. The room collectively gasped. Murmurs exploded. Some customers stood so abruptly they dropped their forks and knives. The staff stared, wide-eyed, unable to process what they were hearing. Lucy, still lingering by the doorway, unable to walk away from yesterday's storm, froze. The poor man she had stood up for was none other than the very owner Sharon always bragged about serving. Sharon's face drained of color. Her lips trembled as she stammered, "You're the CEO, but yesterday. Why were you dressed like that?" David narrowed his eyes, his voice dropping into a steady thunder. "That was precisely the point. I wanted to see how both staff and customers are treated when no one recognizes me. And what I saw was cruelty to your own employee and contempt for a paying customer." He paused, sweeping his gaze across the hushed diner. His words landed like hammer strikes. "Today I'm not here for coffee. I'm here to set things right." Sharon trembled, sweat trickling down her brow. Lucy clutched her apron tightly, her heart racing wildly, unsure of what was about to unfold. The diner was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Sharon swallowed hard, clinging to the scraps of her authority. Her voice shook as she pleaded, "Mr. David, there must be some misunderstanding. I only wanted to protect the diner's reputation. This employee, Lucy, she defied me in front of customers. That breaks discipline. Enough." David's voice boomed like thunder. He strode to the center of the diner, each step heavy, commanding attention. His gaze swept past Sharon before locking onto Lucy, who stood trembling, clutching her apron like a shield. He inhaled deeply, then addressed the room. "What I witnessed yesterday broke my heart. A dedicated, kind-hearted employee was humiliated and fired simply for showing compassion. And the manager, instead of protecting staff and customers, chose cruelty and disdain." Turning sharply, his eyes pinned Sharon like ice. "For 20 years, I've run Golden Spoon with one principle. We survive on the trust of our customers and the loyalty of our staff." "You shattered both," Sharon stammered, sweat trickling down her face. "Sir." "You can't. I've worked here for years." David cut her off, his words landing like hammer blows. "Sharon, as of this moment, you are suspended. I will personally investigate how this branch has been managed. And believe me, after today, no one will ever be treated with such contempt here again." Whispers rippled through the diner. Some customers broke into small applause. A young busboy glanced at Lucy and smiled, as if to say, "You did it." Lucy stood frozen, her heart racing wildly, unsure if she was dreaming. David's gaze softened as it met hers. "And you, Lucy, yesterday you stood up for what's right. You may have lost your job, but you held on to your dignity. That alone proves this company needs people like you." The diner erupted into applause. Lucy's cheeks flushed as tears welled in her eyes, her hands trembling. For the first time, her kindness was not just noticed, it was celebrated. The diner erupted in applause. Some customers even stood, cheering for Lucy. Sharon's face was frozen stiff, her lips trembling, her authority crumbling in the very place she once ruled. Lucy bowed her head shyly, eyes glistening. Never had she imagined that one cup of coffee and a simple act of kindness could change her fate so drastically. David stepped closer, his voice resonant but warm. "Lucy, I want you back. Not as just another waitress, but as an example for the entire Golden Spoon chain. I need people like you to remind everyone that kindness is the very core of service." Another wave of applause thundered through the diner. Lucy clutched her apron to her chest, her heart racing. But then she shook her head gently, her voice trembling yet resolute. "Thank you, sir. But I think I need time to think. Maybe there's another path out there for me." The diner fell into stunned silence. David frowned slightly in surprise, while Sharon blinked, a flicker of desperate hope crossing her eyes. Lucy thanked everyone softly, then hurried out the door. Customers watched her leave in shock, unable to understand why she would walk away from such a golden opportunity. David stood still for a moment, then the corner of his mouth curved into a knowing smile. His eyes gleamed with intrigue. Perhaps she carries a dream far greater than this place. No one realized that Lucy's choice that day was the spark of an even more astonishing journey yet to come. Lucy stepped out of the Golden Spoon. The morning sun suddenly felt brighter than ever. Light poured over her, yet inside she carried a mix of relief and uncertainty. The apron was gone, her hands were bare, and her life, from this moment, was taking an entirely new turn. She walked down the familiar street, bustling with people. The smell of toasted bread drifted from a nearby bakery, horns blared in traffic, children's laughter echoed, all of it seemed more vivid than before. But inside, Lucy's mind was crowded with doubts. I just turned down a steady job. Am I crazy? What comes next? Her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend, Emma. "Lucy, I saw the video. Everyone online is talking about you. You're a hero! Come to my cafe now, we need to talk." Lucy chuckled softly, warmth filling her chest. She hailed a cab to Emma's little coffee shop, the very place where they had once dreamed about starting something of their own. On the ride, Lucy scrolled through her phone. Hundreds of messages poured in, friends, former co-workers, even strangers sending encouragement. The video of her standing up for the poor customer and being fired by Sharon had already hit over 500,000 views overnight. Comments flooded beneath, praising her bravery and kindness. Her lip trembled, eyes misty. She never imagined such a simple act could touch so many hearts. The cab stopped. In front of her stood Emma's small cafe, where just months ago, the two of them had sketched out dreams of a brand that wasn't just about drinks, but about spreading kindness. Lucy took a deep breath and stepped out. In her chest flickered a bold thought. Maybe it's time to turn kindness into something bigger than just a cup of coffee. The little cafe door swung open, its bell chiming cheerfully. Emma rushed out from behind the counter and threw her arms around Lucy, as if embracing someone who had returned from battle. "Oh my God, Lucy! You're all over social media! Everyone's calling you the bravest waitress in America!" Emma exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Lucy chuckled, though her smile carried a trace of unease. "Come on, I only did what anyone should have done. But Emma, I don't know what's next for me. Emma pulled her to their old wooden table, the one where they had once scribbled dreams and doodles of ideas. The worn notebook was still there, stuffed with yellow sticky notes covered in half-faded writing. Remember? Emma leaned in eagerly. We dreamed of creating a cafe chain where people wouldn't just drink coffee, but find kindness. A place where every cup reminded them that compassion can change lives. Lucy fell silent, her fingers brushing over one old sketch that read, "Kind cup, coffee with compassion." Her heart thumped hard, as if something inside was waking up. But Emma, how could we even start? We don't have money, we don't have big business experience. Lucy sighed. Emma's eyes glowed with conviction. Lucy, don't you see? The whole world is watching you right now. That video of you is publicity no money could ever buy. You already have the most important thing, people's trust. They believe in your kindness. That is the greatest capital we could ever have. Lucy sat frozen, Emma's words pounding at the locked doors of her heart. She gazed out the window where golden sunlight poured in, and in that light flickered the spark of hope. Maybe this was her chance. Emma clasped her hands firmly, smiling wide. So are you ready to make our dream real? If you say yes, we start today. Lucy drew a deep breath, her eyes shining with determination. And at that moment, her new journey had truly begun. On the small wooden table, notebooks, sticky notes, and a laptop were scattered everywhere. Lucy and Emma sat across from each other, sipping coffee while sketching out their plan with growing excitement. First, we need a name that stands out. I still love Kind Cup. It's short, warm, and memorable, Emma said, scribbling on a mini whiteboard. Lucy's eyes lit up. Yes, Kind Cup feels like a promise. One kind cup for every person. But we also need a mission, a vision, something that shows this isn't just a coffee shop, it's a movement. She wrote, Kind Cup, where every cup sparks kindness. Emma clapped her hands. Perfect. And what if we dedicate part of the profits to giving free coffee to the homeless, or even create a small scholarship fund for struggling students? Lucy's heart swelled. For the first time, the dream didn't feel distant. It felt real, alive. But reality hit hard when Emma opened the budget spreadsheet. Both of them fell silent. We'll need at least $50,000 to rent a space, buy equipment, furniture, ingredients. Emma's voice trailed off. Lucy bit her lip, staring at the glaring red numbers. Her savings amounted to less than $3,000, the result of years of waitressing. Emma, I don't know how we can ever come up with that kind of money. Lucy sighed. The room grew heavy. Clouds rolled in outside, dimming the sunlight. Their newly sparked dream was already under fire, but Emma lifted her chin, her eyes blazing. Lucy, don't forget, you touched hundreds of thousands of hearts with just one act. If people knew you wanted to turn kindness into a cafe, I believe many would step up to help. Lucy looked at her friend, hope flickering again. Yet a question echoed in her mind. Will the world truly support a dream of kindness? Or was it just a passing moment of viral fame? Lucy sat frozen in front of the laptop, staring at the $50,000 figure like it was a towering wall blocking her path. Her hand stirred a cup of cold coffee absent-mindedly, her heart tangled in doubt. You're awfully quiet. Lucy, what's on your mind? Emma asked softly, concern lacing her voice. Lucy looked up, her eyes conflicted. Emma, I'm scared. If I launch a campaign, people might think I'm just cashing in on this sudden fame. I don't want anyone to see my kindness as a stunt. Emma grasped her hand firmly. No, you've got it wrong. It's because you don't calculate that people trust you. Sometimes the world needs a reason to believe in something good. And you, Lucy, you're that reason. Lucy fell silent, gazing out the window. Outside, the street bustled with strangers, each carrying their own story. Do I dare bet on their faith? She wondered. Her phone buzzed again. A notification popped up. Waitress fired for helping a stranger. Video hits 1 million views. Her heart skipped. 1 million people. 1 million hearts had seen her story. If even a small fraction believed in her, maybe. The dream wasn't so impossible. She turned to Emma, her voice trembling, but her eyes brighter than before. Maybe we should try. But I want everyone to know this isn't about money. It's about building a shared dream, a place where kindness lives. Emma laughed, eyes blazing with determination. That's the Lucy I know. Then we'll start with a community fundraiser. Let the whole world lay a brick to build Kind Cup. Lucy drew a deep breath. This time, instead of fear, she felt like she was standing before a new door, one that opened onto a journey she couldn't yet imagine. 1 week later, Lucy and Emma sat in front of the computer, their hands trembling with determination. The crowdfunding page was live, bold words at the top reading, "Kind Cup, a kind cup of coffee for everyone." In the intro video, Lucy appeared plain and unpolished. No makeup, no fancy script. Her voice trembled, but carried pure sincerity. "Hi, my name is Lucy. Some of you may know my story. I was fired for helping a stranger. But I believe kindness is never a mistake. My best friend Emma and I dream of creating Kind Cup, a cafe where every cup of coffee is a reminder of compassion. If you believe kindness can change the world, please join us." Emma hit publish. The page went live. At first, only small contributions trickled in. $5, $10, $20, each with short notes. "We believe in you. Lucy." Lucy's heart swelled with gratitude, though worry still lingered. $50,000? Is that too far out of reach? But then the unexpected happened. An anonymous account donated $10,000 with a note. "Kindness is never wasted. Build this dream." Lucy and Emma stared at each other, wide-eyed in disbelief. The donation instantly pushed the campaign past 20% of its goal in a single day. News outlets quickly caught wind. Waitress fired for kindness, launches new dream, community rallies to support. From there, the wave surged. Some gave $1, some $100, and a few small business owners even pledged thousands. More powerful than the money were the messages of faith. The world needs more Lucys. A cup of coffee can change a day. An act of kindness can change a life. Lucy sat motionless, tears streaming as she stared at the screen. For the first time, she felt the true power of community and of her own courage. In her small apartment, Sharon sat rigidly before the TV, clutching the remote. News clips replayed Lucy's crowdfunding video, her trembling but sincere voice echoing with headlines flashing across the screen. "Fired waitress goes viral. Kind Cup campaign reaches $20,000 in just 48 hours. Sharon's face twisted, her eyes blazing with fury. She muttered under her breath, "That girl. She stole all the attention. People should remember me, the strict manager who kept order in that diner, not some cheap little waitress." On her table lay a local paper, its headline shouting, "Lucy, a new symbol of kindness." Sharon crumpled it in her fist and hurled it to the floor. She shot to her feet, pacing like a wounded predator. Dark thoughts began to form. If she keeps this up, she'll be a hero. And when that happens, no one will remember Sharon. No, I have to stop her. I'll expose her. Show everyone she's nothing more than an opportunist. She flipped open her laptop, combing through social media. Old photos, scraps of comments, anything that could be twisted into a weapon. "All right, Lucy," Sharon whispered, lips curling into a cold smile. "You want to play with the public? I'll make sure they see you're not as perfect as they think." In the dim light of her apartment, the glow of the screen lit Sharon's hardened face. Her eyes gleamed with malice. A new battle was about to begin, and this time it wasn't just about a job. It was about Lucy's honor, her reputation, and the dream she was fighting for. 3 days later, while Lucy's crowdfunding campaign was gaining momentum, an anonymous post suddenly surfaced on a popular forum. The truth about Lucy, the waitress who isn't so kind. After all, the post accused Lucy of being disrespectful to management, of constantly defying orders, and of pretending to be kind just to win over customers. It included old, unflattering photos of Lucy during work shifts, tired, frowning, cropped and captioned maliciously. Within hours, the post spread like wildfire. Some began leaving skeptical comments. Could Lucy just be cashing in on her sudden fame? "I donated to the campaign, but now I'm not so sure." At Emma's cafe, Lucy's phone buzzed nonstop. She scrolled through the screen, her chest tightening as accusations and cruel words pierced her heart. "Emma, they're calling me fake. They think I staged everything for attention," Lucy whispered, her voice cracking. Emma gripped her shoulders firmly. "Don't listen to them, Lucy. I know this is Sharon." She's trying to smear you. But remember, there are thousands standing with you. Don't let a handful of bitter voices shake your dream. Lucy forced a smile, though tears welled in her eyes. Inside, a fear gnawed at her. If people turn away now, Kind Cup will die before it even begins. Outside, rain poured heavily, drumming against the cafe roof like pounding war drums. Lucy stared out at the storm, her heart heavy. Little did she know, this storm would be the first true test of her dream. That night, Lucy lay on her bed, her phone buzzing endlessly with notifications. Each comment cut deep. She's fake. She's milking kindness for cash. Kind Cup? Sounds like a cheap PR stunt. She hugged her pillow, tears streaming down her face. Doubt whispered in her mind. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I should quit before it all falls apart. Then her phone buzzed again. A message from a stranger appeared. Lucy, I just lost my job yesterday. Watching your video gave me hope that kindness still exists. Please don't give up. We need you. Lucy sat up, her heart tightening. That message was like a tiny flame piercing the darkness inside her. The next morning, Emma arrived with her laptop. Lucy, you have to say something. If you stay silent, people will believe the lies. Lucy drew a long breath. The worry in her eyes was gone, replaced by resolve. All right, if they want the truth, I'll give it to them. Not to defend myself, but to remind them that kindness doesn't need to be perfect to matter. That afternoon, Lucy recorded a short video. No makeup, seated in Emma's cafe, with natural light falling across her face. Her voice was calm but firm. I'm not perfect. I've been tired, I've made mistakes, and yes, I've looked grumpy like anyone else. But one thing has never changed. I believe everyone deserves kindness. If you believe the dream of Kind Cup is worth building, then let's build it together, no matter the criticism. The video went online. At first, silence. Then, slowly, positive comments began to flow. This is real honesty. She's not pretending to be perfect, and that makes me trust her more. Lucy, we're with you. By the end of the day, the video had racked up 500,000 views, and the campaign total had surged past $35,000. Lucy sat stunned, watching the numbers climb. Tears fell again, but this time, they were tears of hope. In the days that followed, the Kind Cup campaign became a sensation. News outlets covered it non-stop, and Lucy was invited to TV interviews. Online, people affectionately called her the Waitress of Kindness and the Flame of Hope. Within just 2 weeks, the fundraiser hit $45,000, almost the full goal. Lucy and Emma hugged tightly in their tiny cafe, crying tears of joy. The dream felt so close, almost within reach. But in the shadows, Sharon wasn't done. She sat in a lawyer's office, her voice dripping with venom. Can we sue that girl for fraud? Say she's stealing people's money? I want her dragged through the mud, the lawyer shrugged. Difficult. She's been transparent, and the platform tracks all funds, but... He leaned in. If we spread rumors that Lucy has a debt history or misuses donations and back it up with fake paperwork, public opinion will do the rest. Sharon's lips curled into a cold smile. Perfect, do it. I want to watch her precious little fund collapse before her eyes. The very next day, a document surfaced online, allegedly showing Lucy's bad debt record. The post sneered. You think your money is building Kind Cup? More likely it's paying off this waitress's debts. The internet erupted again. Shares spread like wildfire. Some donors wavered, and a few even demanded refunds. Meanwhile, Lucy sat frozen before her screen, her hands trembling. Each skeptical comment hit her like a hammer to the chest. Emma slammed the table in anger. This is Sharon, I know it! But how do we prove it's fake? Lucy bit her lip, tears brimming. The dream was only a few $1,000s away, yet now it stood on the edge of collapse. As social media exploded with the fake debt records, Lucy sat in despair. Curled in the corner of Emma's cafe, her eyes were red from sleepless nights. Emma paced nervously, trying to reassure her. Lucy, you have to believe the truth will win. But if people turn away, what will we do? Just then, the cafe door opened. A tall figure entered, dressed in a sharp suit, his stride firm. Both Lucy and Emma looked up. It was David Miller, CEO of the Golden Spoon chain. the very man Lucy once defended when he disguised himself as a poor customer. "Mr. David?" Lucy whispered, her voice trembling. David gave a faint smile, his gaze unwavering. "Lucy, I've been following your journey. And I know the rumors out there are lies. Now it's my turn to step in." He set a thick folder on the table. "These are official reports from the crowdfunding platform, verified by my legal team. Everything is clean. No debts in your name. The so-called documents are forgeries." Lucy's eyes widened as tears spilled over. You did all this for me?" David nodded, his voice deep and resolute. "Lucy, you're not just the waitress who once stood up for what's right. You've become a symbol of kindness, and symbols like you must be protected. If Sharon wants to smear you, then she will pay the price." Emma let out a breath of relief, clasping Lucy's hands. "See, Lucy? You're not alone in this." David's gaze locked onto hers, his eyes burning with conviction. "Allow me to stand publicly with you. I'll go on television and I'll tell everyone I believe in Kind Cup. Once I speak, the public won't waver again." Overwhelmed, Lucy felt gratitude surge through her chest. She knew this was the turning point, when truth and faith began reclaiming their ground. 2 days later, the city's primetime news opened with an extraordinary scene. David Miller, CEO of Golden Spoon, sitting solemnly before the cameras with Lucy at his side. The anchor began. Viewers already know Lucy's story, the waitress fired for an act of kindness, who later became the face of the Kind Cup campaign. Recently, damaging claims spread online. "Tonight, Mr. Miller is here to set the record straight." David leaned forward, his voice steady and commanding. "What you've seen online is false. My legal team has verified everything. Lucy has no debt history, and she has never misused donations. I witnessed her, in her hardest moment, choose kindness instead of silence. That is a value Golden Spoon, and I deeply believe in." The camera panned to Lucy. She wore a simple dress, her face plain but her eyes resolute. Her voice wavered slightly, yet carried truth. "I'm not perfect. I'm just an ordinary person, fired, scared, flawed. But I believe that together, even a cup of coffee can become a symbol of hope. Kind Cup isn't just my dream. It's for everyone who believes in kindness." As the broadcast aired, social media exploded. Hashtags, Stand with Lucy, and Kind Cup shot to the top of trending within hours. Former skeptics returned in droves to support. Outlets that had hinted at scandal rushed to issue corrections. Most astonishing of all, the crowdfunding page surged. Thousands of new donations poured in, the number climbing so fast Lucy and Emma stared in disbelief. Within 24 hours, the campaign hit $70,000, well beyond its original goal. Lucy burst into tears on live TV, hugging Emma tightly as the program ended. She knew this wasn't just her victory, it was proof that kindness could still move the world. Meanwhile, in her dim apartment, Sharon sat pale-faced before her screen. The flashing hashtags on Stand With Lucy stabbed at her pride like knives. She snarled under her breath, "No! This isn't over yet." In her dark apartment, Sharon raged like a beast cornered. Every news story about Lucy and Kind Cup felt like a slap across her face. The pride of a strict manager was now nothing but a national joke. "No, I won't let her win," Sharon screamed, slamming her fist onto the table. She gambled on one last move, hiring a swarm of fake accounts to spread a forged email, supposedly showing Lucy and Emma plotting to pocket the donations. The post spread quickly, but this time the public wasn't so gullible. Sharp-eyed users spotted the flaws immediately. Mismatched fonts, wrong dates, and sloppy wording. Within hours, independent journalists dug in and exposed the hoax. Tracing it back to Sharon herself, headlines roared across the internet. Former manager Sharon fabricates evidence against Lucy, exposed by community. Outrage erupted. Customers who had once witnessed Sharon berating Lucy now came forward. Former employees bravely shared stories of being bullied under her management. Sharon became the target of a firestorm. Her inbox flooded with furious messages. Employers severed ties, and the local Service Industry Association issued a statement condemning her actions. Meanwhile, Lucy sat at Emma's cafe, staring at her screen in disbelief. This time she hadn't needed to fight. The truth and the community had fought for her. Emma clasped her hand, smiling wide. See? When you live with kindness, the world itself will rise to defend you. Tears filled Lucy's eyes as she nodded. The dream of Kind Cup wasn't just saved, it had become stronger than ever. Across town, Sharon sat slumped in her lonely apartment, clutching her head. Her final strike had backfired and left her in ruins. The grand opening of Kind Cup arrived faster than Lucy could believe. The small cafe on the corner was simple yet warm. Wood tones, cozy lighting, and chalkboards filled with messages from customers. Kindness served here. A long line stretched outside. Many were donors who had backed the campaign. Others were just eager to meet the Waitress of Kindness in person. Cameras flashed, journalists jostled for a shot. Behind the counter, Lucy wore a brand new apron, her heart pounding. Emma squeezed her hand and whispered, "You've got this. This is our moment." Lucy drew a deep breath, then stepped out to the doorway with a radiant smile. Applause rippled like waves. A reporter thrust a microphone forward. "Lucy, how does it feel to see your dream come true?" Lucy choked for a moment, then spoke. "I just want to say this isn't only my cafe or Emma's. This is the cafe of everyone who believes kindness can change the world." The crowd erupted in cheers. The doors opened and people poured in. The scent of fresh coffee beans filled the air, mingling with laughter and excitement. But the joy didn't last long. That very afternoon, with the cafe still buzzing, a group suddenly appeared outside. They carried banners shouting, "Kind Cup is a scam. Don't be fooled!" The crowd inside froze. Some customers panicked and left, while others pulled out phones to record. Lucy stood stunned, her hands trembling on the counter. Emma rushed to her side, pulling her back. "Lucy, stay calm. This is sabotage. Someone's behind them." Through the window, Lucy caught a glimpse of a familiar face among the protesters, Sharon. Her eyes blazing with hatred. Even after her humiliating defeat, Sharon still hadn't let go. And now she had chosen to strike on the happiest day of Lucy's life. Outside, the protesters shouted, their banners raised high, trying to blot out the Kind Cup sign. The chaos rattled customers inside. Some shifted nervously, ready to leave. Lucy drew in a deep breath. She knew silence would destroy everything she had fought for. Her heart pounded, but her eyes burned with resolve. "Emma, open the door for me," Lucy said firmly. "Are you sure? They came here to tear you down." Emma clutched her arm. "That's why I have to face them," Lucy replied, stepping forward. The crowd quieted as Lucy appeared on the cafe steps. The wind brushed her hair, but she stood tall, unwavering. "You want the truth?" Lucy called out, her voice clear. "I'll say it right here." Phones rose, cameras fixed on her. Among the protesters, Sharon stood with arms folded, smirking like she'd already won. Lucy swept her gaze across the crowd, then locked eyes with Sharon. A faint smile tugged her lips. "Sharon, I know you're behind all of this, from the fake posts to this very mob. But you've forgotten one thing. Kindness cannot be silenced." The crowd stirred. Sharon's face paled, but she shouted back, "She's just acting. She's scamming you all for money." Lucy didn't answer with anger. She turned to the people, her voice sincere. "You can doubt me, I'm not perfect. But look around this cafe. It exists because of you, because of thousands of people who believed kindness was real. If Kind Cup were a scam, would so many have built it together?" Silence hung heavy. Then, a woman in the audience raised her voice. "That's right. I donated, and I don't regret it." Lucy gave me hope. A young man lifted his coffee cup, shouting, "Kind Cup is real! Lucy is real!" Applause erupted, rolling through the cafe. Outside, protesters faltered, lowering their signs. Only Sharon remained, frozen, her face burning with humiliation. Lucy's voice softened but carried undeniable strength. "You can smear me, Sharon, but you will never destroy the faith of thousands. This battle is over." The crowd roared, chants and clapping echoing through the street. Cameras captured it all, and within hours, social media blazed with the hashtag #KindCupVictory. After the dramatic showdown, the entire street buzzed with chatter. The video of Lucy standing on the cafe steps, confronting Sharon and being cheered by the crowd, spread across social media like wildfire. Within a single night, our Kind Cup victory trended nationwide. The next morning, Lucy's phone buzzed non-stop. Messages, emails, well wishes from strangers, interview requests from journalists, and one subject line that made her heart race. Partnership proposal, Horizon Ventures. Lucy read it over and over, her pulse quickening. Horizon Ventures, one of the top investment firms specializing in social impact startups. With trembling fingers, she opened the email. We have been following the journey of Kind Cup. Your story proves that kindness can be turned into a sustainable business model. We would like to meet and discuss providing capital to expand Kind Cup into a nationwide chain. Lucy sat in stunned silence. Beside her, Emma screamed with joy, throwing her arms around her. Lucy, this is it! Don't you see? People don't just believe in you. They want to grow this dream with you. Tears streamed down Lucy's face as memories flooded back. The day she was fired, the trembling first video, the nights she nearly gave up under Sharon's attacks. And now, all of it had led here. That afternoon, Lucy stood inside Kind Cup, watching the steady line of customers, each smiling as they dropped spare change into the little kindness jar on the counter. Her heart whispered, maybe Kind Cup won't just be one small cafe. Maybe it will spread, carrying kindness farther than I ever dreamed. Outside, the sunset painted the street in golden light, and in that moment, Lucy felt it deeply. Her dream was no longer hers alone. It had become a dream shared by everyone. A week later, Lucy and Emma sat inside a high-rise, glass-walled conference room. Sunlight pouring across pristine white walls and a long, polished table. Lucy's heart pounded. She had never set foot in such a professional setting. Across from them sat 3 representatives of Horizon Ventures, led by Evelyn Brooks, a renowned investment director nicknamed the Dream Examiner. Evelyn's voice was calm but commanding as she began. Lucy, we've followed your story. It has moved millions, but business requires more than inspiration. It requires strategy. Tell us, why can Kind Cup endure long-term instead of being just a viral fad? Lucy inhaled deeply. She knew this was the moment. Rising to her feet, her eyes burned with determination. Kind Cup isn't just a coffee shop. It's a place where customers feel part of something bigger. Every cup sold contributes to the community. People aren't just buying coffee. They're buying change. And when they see the impact, they'll return. They'll stay loyal. Emma leaned forward, passion in her tone. We've prepared transparent financial plans, operational models, and a roadmap for expansion. The crowdfunding data proves tens of thousands already believe in Lucy. That's a market waiting to grow. All we need is a launchpad to turn that trust into a nationwide brand. Silence lingered for a moment. Evelyn studied Lucy, her gaze sharp as if piercing through her very soul. Then she gave the faintest nod, a rare smile tugging at her lips. A good answer. But remember, if we invest, we're not betting on the idea. We're betting on the person. Lucy. She paused. Do you have the courage to carry this weight? Lucy clenched her fists, then answered without hesitation. Yes, not just for me, but for everyone who believes in Kind Cup. I will not let them down. A hush fell. Evelyn glanced at her colleagues. After a few exchanged nods, she extended her hand. Welcome to Horizon Ventures. Together, we'll turn kindness into a national force. Lucy's hand trembled as she shook Evelyn's. In her eyes shone the certainty of a new chapter. Her dream had just leapt onto an entirely bigger stage. 3 months after signing with Horizon Ventures, Kind Cup was no longer just a modest corner cafe. Bright new signs lit up at 3 different branches across the city, each packed with eager customers. On social media, photos of paper cups stamped with "Kindness is served" spread everywhere. For young people, visiting Kind Cup became a must-try experience, while newspapers hailed Lucy as the woman who turned kindness into a national brand. But with growth came challenges. In her new office, Lucy sat surrounded by contracts, invoices, and financial reports. She ruffled her hair in frustration, sighing, "Emma, I never imagined expansion would be this overwhelming. Managing staff, maintaining quality, making sure customers still feel kindness, it's all slipping out of my control." Emma set a coffee cup on the desk, her gaze steady. "Lucy, you don't have to carry it all alone. But you're right. Success brings the pressure to stay true to who we are. We need to find a way for Kind Cup to grow without losing its soul." Just then, a staff member knocked and handed over a report. "Lucy, we just received a complaint. At the new branch, customers said the staff were rude and the coffee tasted poor." Lucy froze. The news cut deep. All their efforts to build an image of kindness were suddenly at risk. No, Kind Cup was born to be different. "We cannot become just another chain that disappoints customers," Lucy whispered, fire returning to her eyes. Emma nodded firmly. "Then we must do what no chain dares to do, not just sell coffee, but train people. Every Kind Cup employee must become an ambassador of kindness." Lucy smiled faintly, a spark reigniting within her. She knew a new battle had begun, and this time it wasn't against Sharon or rumors, but against the threat of losing the very soul of her dream as it grew. A week later, Lucy gathered all the staff from 3 branches back to the main cafe. The small room was packed, mostly young workers, some nervous, some exhausted from long shifts. Lucy stepped forward, holding nothing but a single Kind Cup mug. Her voice was calm but powerful. "You're not just baristas. You're the reason customers believe kindness still exists. Every smile, every moment you truly listen. It isn't just work. It's a gift you give to someone else." Some employees exchanged surprised glances. Others looked touched. Emma joined her and added, "From today, you're not just baristas or servers. You are ambassadors of kindness. Your mission isn't just to serve coffee, but to spread warmth." The first training wasn't about procedures. Lucy asked each employee to share a personal story, a time when someone had been kind to them. The room slowly filled with emotion. A young man spoke of a neighbor who once bought him a coat in the snow. A girl teared up recalling a stranger who had paid for her mother's medicine. Lucy listened with a soft smile, then said, "See? Kindness is always remembered. Now imagine, we could be that reason someone has a brighter day." The session ended with laughter, hugs, and an energy that felt different. Many staff left with shining eyes, as though they had finally found meaning in work often dismissed as ordinary. The next day, customers at Kind Cup noticed the change immediately. Employees weren't just polite, they were attentive, caring. Some remembered regulars' names, others asked small, genuine questions. One elderly customer wrote on Twitter, "I visited Kind Cup today. The waitress didn't just serve me coffee, she asked if I had eaten breakfast. I haven't heard that question in years. Thank you, Kind Cup." The post went viral, shared thousands of times, and soon, ambassadors of kindness became a buzzword, hailed as the unique spirit that set Kind Cup apart from countless other coffee chains. The meteoric rise of Kind Cup was splashed across headlines. In less than 6 months, revenue had exceeded projections. Branches were packed daily, and ambassadors of kindness became the unique factor that kept customers loyal, not just for the coffee, but for the feeling of being valued. But inside the gleaming tower of Brunation, the region's largest coffee chain, tension boiled over. In the boardroom, the CEO slammed a report onto the table, growling, "Look at these numbers! Kind Cup has only a handful of stores, yet they've stolen 12% of our market share in this city. People call it the brand of kindness. Ridiculous. But clearly, customers are leaving us for it." A marketing manager cautiously suggested, "Maybe we should adapt their model. Customers are prioritizing emotional connection over price." "No!" the CEO barked, eyes blazing. "We don't follow them, we crush them. Launch a citywide campaign, Brunation, real taste, real value. Hit their image head on. We're the big, stable, trustworthy brand. And if necessary, hire agencies to dig up dirt. Find any weakness in Kind Cup and exploit it." The room fell silent. Everyone knew Brunation's declaration wasn't competition. It was war. Meanwhile, Lucy had no idea a storm was brewing. That evening, she and Emma passed by a massive new billboard towering over the city square. Brew Nation, we don't sell promises, we serve reality. Emma froze, eyes wide. Lucy, they're aiming straight at us. Lucy stared at the glowing words, a chill running through her. Then she drew a deep breath, gripping Emma's hand tightly. If they want to fight, we won't back down. We don't have their deep pockets, but we have something money can't buy, trust. Within 2 weeks, Brew Nation blanketed the city. Ads on TV, radio, and billboards hammered the message. Brew Nation, real taste, real value. Don't be fooled by sweet promises. Sponsored articles popped up, subtly comparing Kind Cup to a viral fad bound to fade. Popular YouTubers released videos claiming Brew Nation was the safer, long-term choice. Kind Cup's revenue immediately felt the blow. Some loyal customers stayed, but others hesitated, wary of the doubt spreading. Lucy sat in her office, staring at the declining numbers, her heart sinking. Emma clasped Lucy's hand, worry etched in her face. We can't outspend them. Our budget is a grain of sand against Brew Nation's ocean. Lucy fell quiet, then smiled faintly, tired but steady with conviction. You're right. We don't have their money, but we have the community, and the community that built Kind Cup will be the one to defend it. That night, Lucy and Emma filmed a simple video. No fancy lights, no scripted polish. Just Lucy, her ambassadors of kindness, and a few loyal customers. One by one, they told real stories. An old man given free coffee after forgetting his wallet, a student listened to by a kind barista, a single mom gifted a discount card when short on money. Finally, Lucy spoke. We're not a giant corporation. We just believe every cup of coffee can bring kindness. If you've ever felt that here at Kind Cup, please share your story. You are the reason we exist. The campaign, Jak's My Kind Cup Story, launched. Within days, thousands shared heartfelt posts, photos, videos, captions of small but meaningful moments at KindCup. National media took notice. Talk shows invited customers to speak live. One host teared up on air. This isn't marketing. This is a movement. Meanwhile, at Brew Nation's HQ, the CEO slammed a report on the table. Revenue had risen, but their image was branded as cold, corporate, and heartless, in stark contrast to the love flooding toward Kind Cup. Back in her cafe, Lucy scrolled through the never-ending flood of My Kind Cup Story posts. Tears welled as she whispered, maybe we don't need to win with money. We just need to win with hearts. 1 year after its opening, Kind Cup had become a household name across America. From one modest corner cafe, it now had branches in over 20 states. The logo, a cup encircled by a heart, appeared everywhere, on busy streets, in airports, even in movies. The My Kind Cup Story campaign still thrived. Every week, thousands of new customers shared stories. A veteran recalled being offered a free coffee on Veterans Day. An orphaned girl wrote a thank you note after receiving books and a scholarship from the cafe. Kindness itself had become a national brand. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Lucy was invited to Europe to speak at an international conference on social enterprises, attended by global corporations, governments, and top investors. Even more, Horizon Ventures proposed turning Kind Cup into a global brand, launching first in Paris and London. Emma nearly screamed with excitement. Lucy! This could make Kind Cup the Starbucks of kindness. Lucy smiled faintly, but her eyes grew distant. For at the same time, another email arrived from the small, struggling town where she grew up. Local officials invited her to return and open the very first Kind Cup for the community, a place where children had nowhere safe to gather and workers longed for warmth. Lucy's heart wavered. On one side, international glory, expanding Kind Cup into a global powerhouse. On the other, her hometown, the faces she knew, the people who needed kindness most. That night, Lucy sat alone in the original cafe. The walls around her were covered in customer notes. She whispered softly, Kind Cup, were you meant to belong to the world or to the small people right here? Streetlights shone through the window, reflecting Lucy's conflicted face. A fateful decision loomed before her. The Grand Hall in Geneva blazed with lights. Flags from every nation lined the walls, the room filled with entrepreneurs, scholars, investors, and international press. On stage, a banner read, "Global Summit on Social Enterprises. Build a Kinder World." Lucy sat among the keynote guests, her heart racing. Before her were thousands from across the globe. Emma leaned in and whispered, "Lucy, this is your moment. If you say yes, Kind Cup goes global. If you say no, then give them the reason." The host announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lucy, founder of Kind Cup." Thunderous applause filled the hall. Lucy took a deep breath, stepping into the dazzling lights. She scanned the vast audience, seeing thousands of expectant eyes. For a moment, she remembered her hometown, the dusty street, the barefoot children, the weary workers after long shifts. She began, "I was once just a waitress, fired for helping a poor customer. I thought I'd lost everything, but kindness brought me here, before all of you." The hall fell silent. Lucy continued, "Today, I've been offered the chance to take Kind Cup global. It's an incredible opportunity. But I also received another invitation from the town where I was born. A struggling place where people have no warm gathering space, where children lack hope." Her voice caught, but her eyes shone. "So here is my decision publicly. Kind Cup may go global someday, but first it must start with those who need it most. I will return home and open the first community branch there, because if we truly want a kinder world, we must begin at the roots, with the people most often forgotten." For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then applause erupted, first scattered, then roaring like a storm. Some investors even stood, a few with tears in their eyes. Evelyn Brooks of Horizon Ventures nodded, smiling with pride. Lucy stood amidst the ovation, her heart lighter than ever. She knew she had just turned down the easy path for the harder one, but it was the true path of Kind Cup. Lucy's hometown sat quietly between endless cornfields. The dirt roads were still uneven, the old houses peeling with age. When Lucy's car pulled up, children rushed over, their eyes wide with excitement. "Are you Lucy? The lady from TV?" one boy shouted. Lucy laughed, bending to ruffle his hair. For a moment, she felt like the barefoot child she once was, running along this very road. The empty lot beside the elementary school had been chosen for the first Kind Cup community branch. Lucy stared at the freshly painted white walls, her chest tightening. It wasn't a glamorous cafe in the city center, just a humble little shop. But it carried the full weight of her dream. On opening day, the townspeople poured in. Elderly folks, children, factory workers, teachers, they all crowded at the door. No TV cameras, no journalists, just familiar faces, brimming with hope. Lucy stood on the steps, her voice trembling. "I once thought I had to go far away to change the world. But today, I realize change begins right where we are born. Kind Cup here is for you, for this community." Applause rippled through the crowd. But what touched Lucy most was when an elderly woman stepped forward, gripping her hand tightly. "Thank you, child. These kids have needed a place like this for so long. Today, they finally have somewhere to laugh, to dream." Lucy's eyes welled as she embraced the woman. Around them, children giggled and darted through the cafe's yard. On the wall, Emma hung a wooden sign carved with the words, "Kind Cup, a home for kindness, starting here." Lucy gazed at the sign, her heart swelling with pure joy. She knew then she had chosen the right path. Late afternoon sunlight bathed the little town in gold. Inside the newly opened Kind Cup, children clustered at a long wooden table doing homework. Tired workers sipped coffee after their shifts, and the wall was covered with handwritten notes of gratitude from townsfolk. Lucy sat by the window, a warm cup in her hands, quietly watching the flow of people outside. Emma sat across from her, eyes shining. "Lucy, don't you see? From one small cafe, Kind Cup has become a symbol. Not just in America, people around the world are watching." Lucy nodded, her eyes glistening. Memories surged, the day Sharon fired her. The trembling nights launching her fundraiser, the cafe packed on opening day, the sting of false rumors, and the moment an old woman gripped her hand and whispered, "Thank you, Emma," Lucy said softly. Maybe we never really opened a coffee shop. We opened a place for people to believe again. Coffee was just the excuse. What Kind Cup truly serves is kindness. Outside, the sky blazed red with sunset. Lucy drew a deep breath, lifting her chin. She knew the journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more brunations to face. But she no longer feared them. Because Kind Cup was no longer hers alone, it belonged to the millions who believed kindness was real. Turning to Emma, Lucy smiled brightly. Let's keep going. Until every cup of coffee in this world carries a little kindness. And so, from a waitress once fired in disgrace, Lucy wrote a legend of a small cup that carried the power to change the world.